Hey, good morning and welcome to the Commercial Corner. This is Jeff again and excited about today. I've got Ben Nudo from our plumbing department today. And it's not by accident. It's 106, 107 degrees here in Fresno, and I was just looking out the window behind us here and watching what's going on out in the parking lot this morning, and HVAC is just booming right now. Probably get out to 25 houses today installing units, and maybe 300 or 400 houses fixing units today, and it's just that time of the year. So we're gonna get into a little plumbing discussion this morning, since that seems like a fun thing to do. I'll give a little background on Ben, and then I'll let him kind of tell you about himself a little bit, because I didn't give him any questions before we started, so we're just gonna go at this thing, have some fun. I've known Ben for a long time, and he's been an instrumental part in building our plumbing department here at Lee's Air. And when we first started, we were primarily, and I won't take too much from you, Ben, I'll give you something to talk about, but we primarily were focused on the residential end of the plumbing department, but we're really beginning to turn a corner, and there's a lot of demand for Lee's Air to enter into the commercial plumbing world, which is exciting for me. As you all know, that's the part of the business that I focus on. So being able to collaborate with somebody like Ben is exciting to me. So good morning. Welcome, Ben.
Good morning.
Thanks for the short notice invitation accept that we're going to be chatting this morning. So I'm just going to kind of free for all some questions at you this morning. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So just take a minute and tell me a little bit about your history, what you did before Lee's, what you've done when you got here, and where you're at now. Just kind of run me through a little history of Ben Nudo as a plumber.
Well, I started out in, I want to say 2004, 5, at a new construction company, and kind of got a really good foundation start there. So I did about a year and I want to say about a year and a half, 2 years in rough plumbing, which is, the kind of like the first stage of it all. And then top out, I did, I want to say about 2 years as well. That's where it's just 2x4s and drilling holes.
Right.
And the sun just...
How fast can you go?
Yeah, and it's just all the wood chips in your shirt. That wasn't fun, but it was fun. But definitely had a lot of good leaders there as well. So if you did it wrong, you had to rip it out and do it again. So it was definitely, like I said, a good foundation start. And then I did a couple years of finished plumbing. So I think that was a good place for me to have started, as opposed to starting just in service. So after I did that for a few years, got into service, and then left that company because there was kind of no more growth for me there. So went to another company to kind of pursue service plumbing, because I really liked being able to interact with customers. That was kind of like my favorite part. I stuck with plumbing, which is what I tell all the students that come through the school that we have. I want to say my biggest thing is being able to be the hero, coming out and to customers' houses, figuring out solutions for them that would benefit them in the long run, or even in the short run, which is getting them hot water for that weekend at least, and setting it up for Monday morning to replace, or be it if we had to order repair parts. But it does feel good being the hero, helping them out.
Absolutely.
You get that little adrenaline boost, like, yes, got it. But yeah, plumbing is just kind of like a puzzle. So I think that's what I like the most about it, because even if it's a cookie cutter home, it's never the same. The plumbing's never the same behind the walls. Behind the sheetrock, it's usually at the plumber's discretion. So
Right.
every plumber's going to do something differently or think they have a better idea, and so.
Well, me and Ben actually share an office together, so it's a big office, but we kind of split it down the middle. And I want to talk about this a little bit, so I'll kind of lay out what I want you to address is. But the plumbing industry and as a whole, there's a lot of memes and a lot of jokes and a lot of fun things that go with it. The guys bending over and seeing their butt crack and being rough, and a rough part of the construction, repair industry, service industry. And I just found that not to be true after observing it for a while. We've of course, we have our moments, but in general, it's a very frantic service that we provide. I mean, this is their home, and this is their biggest investment, and they've got problems out there, and they're looking to get it resolved as quickly as possible, and not have to wait till tomorrow, and watching you deal with the incoming fire, if you will, and and having plumbers scattered all over the valley now. What do you think is the most probably the thread that holds it all together really well here at Lee's in order to serve our customers and get out there and take everyone? What's one of the common threads you see, and what's one of the biggest difficulties you have in managing 20 or so plumbers now?
Yeah, about 19. And I want to say the biggest thing is now. Can you do it now?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's definitely not easy to have a full schedule for everybody, to have them come in and have things set up for them, because it kind of has to be right at that moment, because nobody wants to wait a week, 4 days to have their sewer line cleared, so it's just, can you get started now?
Yeah.
And so having the availability for guys, and having guys be knowledgeable fast enough, and everybody wants it.
Well, that urgency lives in our commercial world too. And we built the entire platform of this business is about being fast, being quick. On the HVAC side, we're literally meeting a customer in the morning, and we're out there doing their unit same day. And I see you guys doing the same thing too. So the amount of behind the scenes coordination it takes to have trucks ready, people ready. I know now, I'm learning because I listen to your department over there, but the amount of camera work and the amount of excuse me, head scratching under the ground, because in the plumbing stuff, a lot of the stuff you guys can't see it, and you have to trust your instruments, you have to trust your people, and and that can be a struggle for customers because they can't see it either, and they know they got the problem. And so that's where I think it's exciting having you and your guys in your department going out and representing us, because you guys are able to do a very good job of explaining that, making it work, and then to your point, getting it done in a timely manner. So I see you guys pulling around trailers with tanks and sprayers and equipment on it, and you guys are doing lots of different things. So take a minute and kind of explain the scope of what services are that we're able to provide today, and what we're looking to do in the future. And we'll talk a little bit about commercial a little bit, but right now primarily you're dominating out there in our area on the plumbing side. So what's working? What are you guys getting done these days?
I think the biggest thing is that nobody really thinks about is preventative maintenance. So obviously for HVAC, you're going to have your what is it? The maintenance is that
changing filters, washing the coils. Everybody knows about that.
Yeah, and they typically want to get that done because they don't want to be without air conditioning or heating during the winter. And you don't want to be caught in a bad spot to where you're trying to get a maintenance in the middle of the summer because you feel like your unit's, not performing. So the biggest thing would be preventative maintenance. Nobody really thinks about their sewer lines until it's not draining. So I think that the biggest thing is, like what you said, the equipment that we're taking out. So hydrojetting, flushing out the sewer lines to have it fully open, as opposed to over the years you get grease, and that, I want to say that's one of the biggest things is grease in the kitchen lines, and then they're almost always combined with the laundry because they're on that side of the house.
It's all tying together.
Yeah, so you'll have your grease building up, and then you have lint coming through from the washer, and it's just getting caught up on everything. So that's one of the biggest things. Another thing that people don't really think about is the trees in the front yard. So it's depending on the tree and its root growth. You see all the time on the sidewalks being lifted by roots. So why wouldn't it be able to move, shift, crack a sewer line, right?
Yeah, I experienced that in my own home.
Yeah, so that's one of the good things. We have all our guys, all the service trucks have cameras now, and so that's one thing that we do have them do now is on every line when we're snaking the line to camera it as well.
Well, why would a customer need that?
Well, the biggest thing is to see if you have any issues that are going to prevent drainage later. So if you have a belly in the line, which is when it's no longer graded, traveling down to the city main, and you have a root pushing down on it, and so now it's shifted to where you have that belly, it kind of turns into I'm trying to think of
like a trap or a reservoir, or
yeah, something like that. So we'll think of your sewer line as a river right now, right? So you have that really good flow going down, but once you have that belly, it kind of turns into a little pond, and so you're not going to have that, velocity taking all the solids, whatever, paper down, and it's just going to be going and then slow down, and then the next set slow down, and then that's when you start having.
So are you telling me that you're able to come out to my house and run a camera down there and be able to see those problem areas? How does it work for me as a homeowner to be able to see that? Do you have a special screen or an iPad, or how are you able to show that to me as a consumer that, hey, this is what I see 40 feet away from your house, or that kind of thing? So is that out there? Is that available?
Yep, absolutely. So with those cameras, we have locators that will tell you exactly where the camera's at, so where the head's at, because it has a certain frequency, and so once you're pushing it down, you'll be able to locate where the head of the camera is, and it will tell you the depth of it, so we'll be able to mark the yard wherever it's at, and while they're looking at it on the screen, we do have a screen, and we also record it for the customers just in case they weren't able to be there, if they had work or they had to leave, pick up kids. That's, life still is going on while plumbing's not working, so that's kind of the biggest thing. So even if they weren't there, they would be able to see the camera. On that camera, it also has a mic as well, so you're able to explain everything that's going on. So yeah, it's 40 feet out. Whether you have root intrusions, it's kind of the older pipes that have, let's say like Tower District, they have a lot of cast iron pipe, and those
they last forever though, don't they?
they definitely lasted a long time, but yeah, you get root intrusions every 3 to 4 feet in every fitting, and so I mean we've had some that were completely just full of roots. I've pulled out, we call them horsetails in plumbing, but basically once we cut into it, you're able to see the roots inside the line, grab them, and then start pulling them out.
Wow.
And I've pulled out, I want to say, about a 19, 20 something foot horsetail just right out of the drain. And I couldn't believe that the plumbing was even running before that, because that definitely wasn't overnight.
And knowing what I know now, before I met you, one of the houses I lived in the Old Fig Garden area, I would have plumbers come out about every month because they were telling me I had roots in there, and it took me a while before I finally fixed it. But yeah, it would continually back up. So I want to switch gears just a little bit because we're going to be pressed for time in a bit, because I have a lot of questions for you. So let's take a moment here and talk to me a little bit about tanks versus tankless. Most people out there, when they buy their house, they have a tank in it, and we have a lot of people that switch to tankless because I see the activity. But one of the things I even know, and I'm not a plumber, just as a consumer, as a homeowner, I know that they've done a really good job of marketing those things as being instant hot water, and they're technically not. They're continuous, but they're not instantaneous. So you have to combine that with a what we call a recirculation pump in order to get that perfect blend of hot water all the time. So talk about that a little bit, about the benefits, the issues that you have with conversion, and why I, as a consumer, would want to do that, or what would be talk to me about me taking my tank to a tankless.
Well, there's definitely benefits. So yeah, there's a lot of it gets misconstrued with instant. A lot of people think it's instant, but we could definitely get it as close to that as possible, but it's never going to be instant. So with that, you have your recirculating pumps with tankless. You have them with tanks as well.
Mm-hmm.
But these ones are all, the tankless that we use they have the recirculating pump inside of it, so it does everything from the inside. There's no extra things that you have to do to it besides running a dedicated line. I would say that's probably the most beneficial because it's creating a loop on the hot side of your domestic hot water system, and so it will basically test the water every 15 minutes to see what temperature it's at, and if it's below, let's say, 90 degrees, it'll say like, all right, it's ready to kick on. The most beneficial thing I would say would be if you're on a schedule. If you're on a schedule, you're going to be able to save money because you're like, hey, we use the hot water at 6 in the morning or 5, whatever time you wake up. You can have it set to where that's the only time it's going to turn on.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then it'll do it again. You can have it to where it's set to where it does it again at the end of the day. So when everybody gets home, they're going to be getting ready for bed. If you're not on a schedule, then you're going to be kind of using more gas. You're going to have a lot more gas consumption because, like I said, it's every 15 minutes. It'll test the water and run it.
But on the tank, which most people have, that tank has, its job is to always have a certain amount of water ready to go for those 1, 2, or maybe 3 showers you can get out of it, which is one of the reasons why people switch. And so it's constantly lighting and relighting throughout its life. Whereas I'll tell you, I do have a tankless in my house, and I have it. It's near my laundry room, and I have a sink in there. And it was so exciting for me when I got it put in, and I went to the sink in the laundry room, and I turned it on, and I heard the tankless come on, and then I turned it off, and I heard it shut off. Mm-hmm. So it was literally paying attention to my needs in the house. It was not working at all until I asked it to. So the savings there and is pretty great, and being combined with a recirculation pump, it's changed the way we do. You used to have to think about, okay, I don't want to do laundry, have the dishwater running, and try to take a shower because that could be very disappointing, especially if there's a lot of people in the house. But now I don't worry about that.
Yep.
and it all happens when it happens, and it's pretty great. So, yeah.
Even like on holidays, or you have like birthday parties, you have people visiting and staying the night. Whether you have 5 people visiting and you already have 5 people in the house, you don't have to worry about like, oh, you got to wait an hour until the water
Sure.
heater's up and going again. No, it's you can.
We're not a society that likes to wait anymore. So it definitely feeds into that right now culture that we live in. So just due to time, I want to switch really quick and talk about this because it's really one of my passions. So taking care of commercial customers is something I've done for 30 years on the HVAC side, and it's a different situation because most of the commercial industry is there's a lot of exceptions, but it's more of a 7 to 5 industry, Monday through Friday. That's when people are in their buildings, and you and I have collaborated quite a bit. But talk to our audience a little bit about commercial plumbing, because it's definitely a different animal than residential plumbing. Just like commercial air conditioning is very different than residential air conditioning. So take a minute and talk to me as a building owner or a facility manager about what I should be thinking about with my plumbing issues, especially in the the area of preventative maintenance, which I think is probably a very important product to offer to our commercial customers.
I think that would be the most important, is just preventative maintenance. You have a lot more usage out of that plumbing than you are going to have at a residential, because you have, depending on how many employees you have, let's say here 100 and something employees, and
Nearly 200.
nearly 200, and it's getting use
Yes.
all the time, and so it's not just like paper here and there. It's flowing all the time. So you just I think the biggest thing is abuse of the plumbing. So
Talk to me. What does that mean? What does abuse mean?
so never maintaining anything.
Okay.
So maintaining the water heater, making sure that the anti-rod gets changed out, which is some metal rod that goes through inside the water heater, and it's either made out of magnesium or aluminum. And basically what that does is that hard water that we have here in the valley starts eating the rod first as opposed to the tank, and nobody ever replaces that.
So are you telling me that there's one of those in every tank?
Every tank.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty crazy when you pull them out, and it's just the really thin rod that holds everything together, and nothing. There's no more. There's no magnesium. There's nothing on it. It's just that little thin rod. So the water heater should be maintained once a year, draining it if it's a tank, and if it's a tankless, then you have to run a special solution through it.
Yeah, I hear a lot about draining the tanks, and I think I know why. But tell me a little bit why me as Mr. Homeowner or me as Mr. Small Business Owner would benefit from draining my tanks and having an anti-rod checked and those things on a regular basis versus just never changing the oil in your car.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So when you don't do that, one, your manufacturers are not typically going to warranty what it is unless it's been maintenance. So just like the vehicle maintenance, like changing the oil and whatnot, if you blow your motor, they're not going to cover it, and you're going to be like, you didn't change your oil for 5 years. What are you talking about?
Sure.
So I think that's one of the biggest things, is just making sure to maintenance in it. And there's not a lot to it, but it is time consuming. So draining all the what is it? Calcium deposits that settle at the bottom of the tank, and I mean I've drained a few that left a little pile at the street. Then we have to go pick that up. Of course, we don't leave it there.
Yeah.
But cleaning out all the burner chambers. So it's similar to HVAC unit on the heating system, right? So you have to do that in order to make sure that there's no other safety concerns as well. So I want to say it definitely happens a lot more with propane, but you get a lot of soot buildup underneath where the burner's at, and if it's not clean and firing properly, that's when you're going to start having issues.
I've actually heard talking because again we share the same space, but I heard one of the plumbers talking about he went to drain a tank and nothing came out because that calcium mineral stuff had built up so high in the bottom of the tank, and it wouldn't even let the water out. So, and that's that popping, cracking customers here is because those minerals are getting hot and they're reacting to the heat, and it's just so they have to basically I think you have to kind of heat that brick up at the bottom of it before you actually start heating water. So
yeah,
that's the benefit of maintenance.
Yeah, and you're losing a lot of efficiency as well because it's heating up all that stuff at the bottom. At the very bottom is where the bib's located, and then I want to say maybe 4 or 5 inches above that is the control valve, which has a shank little rod going in behind it into the tank, which is basically the thermometer. It tells the control valve when to kick on, when to kick off. So you start losing all of that efficiency because it's like, hey, I'm up to temperature, when the water above it's really not. It's just that all that calcium and everything below it that's up to temp.
So what we're learning today is very important to think about your plumbing infrastructure, because we all have them. Every house, every business. Think about maintenance on it, having it looked at in advance, get on a schedule. One of the things I'd like to point out is we have a lot of air conditioning customers here at Lee's Air, a lot of them, and anytime someone replaces their unit, we've married the two departments together, and you guys will go out and do a no-cost evaluation as one of our customers. And I've heard from a lot of customers that what a great service it is that you provide, that you're willing to go look at that, because we want to take a whole house approach to it, if you will. We want to make sure, what good is it if we're partnering with you on your home if we're only doing this and we're ignoring that? So I really appreciate the fact that your team is following behind our air conditioning teams and vice versa, and we're working together as a team to take care of customers, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important to me, is that people are getting taken care of out there. So our customers, viewers can contact the office. Is it possible for them to talk to you directly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's the best thing about the plumbing inspection, I would say, is that a lot of plumbing is out of sight, out of mind. So you're typically not going through looking at your plumbing, right? So underneath the sinks, you're not going to know if it's leaking until unless it's flooding out of your sink. But not a lot of people really think about like cabinetry and how expensive it is. So all it takes is a little drip, one drip every 5 minutes even. So that's something that you're not really going to notice, but it will 100% damage all the wood, and you start to, if it's on the hot side, you'll get growth almost immediately, and that will definitely set you back. So it's good that we have our plumbing inspections, because they're able to go through, they look underneath all the sinks, check the angle stops, supply lines, trap, make sure that there's no signs of leaks. So you typically see it'll calcify. So you'll see the streaks coming down the pipes, or you could have on those supply lines, it could be either have a crack in it or get swelled up. Kind of like when you hit a tire really hard and you get that little bubble in the tire. It could be that as well on the supply line, and you're not going to know until it's too late. Yikes. And you're 2 inches underwater in the whole house.
I want to talk about one more thing before we go. I know you're on a schedule, so I hear a lot of talk too, because I'm always listening. I wish I wasn't always listening, but I am. It's just the way my brain works. I hear about repipes, and up in the attics, I also see you can tell a house that's been repiped because there's plastic plumbing lines. I call it plastic, but I think it's called PEX.
Yeah.
And I see it going through, and I think, you know what, that wasn't built this way, so somebody's redone that, etc. So, as a homeowner, what drives that? Is it? I've heard that people have walked through their house and they feel a hot spot on the concrete. I mean, is it? So is that pipes failing in the concrete or in the walls, or what should a homeowner be looking for to realize we have a problem here and our pipes are failing and we need to talk to a professional?
So one thing is, yeah, if you're walking around barefoot or in socks and you feel a hot spot, that's definitely not there by design. So it's going to be a leak on the hot side, and or if they notice an increase in their water bill. That's
Okay.
Water and gas. So if you just notice an increase in that bill and you haven't had any extra usage that you could think of, it's usually due to a leak.
Water's going somewhere.
Yeah, and now you have your water heater that's constantly running because it's trying to keep up with the demand, and so that's where you would see it in your gas bill. If it's not on the hot side, it would obviously be on the cold. That one's a little bit harder to detect because you're not going to feel a cold spot on the ground. But again, you should be able to somewhat notice it on your water usage, or typically the city will send you a notice in the mail.
Oh, really?
Like, hey, you're using a ton of water, and we're going to charge you for it.
I think a lot of people see those things as a marketing ploy by the utilities, but so I guess I'm learning this right now. We should pay attention to our water bills, and if we see a jump or a special notice informing you that you've had a jump in usage, that you should probably take a good serious look at what's going on there. So
yeah, and all the older plumbing, you're going to have two things kind of fighting you with your water lines that are underground. So you have the hard water that we have eating the pipes from the inside out, and then you have your minerals in the dirt that are eating the pipes from the outside in. So it's...
Is there a product out there, and I believe there is, that, so me as a homeowner, knowing that's potential that could happen down the line if I don't take care of my pipes that are underground, that something we could do to, what's the word I'm looking for, treat the water to where it helps against corrosion and failure of those pipes prematurely?
Yep, and that would be the water conditioning, water
Okay.
softening.
What is that?
So it changes the pH level of the water using salt and resin. So those water softeners will definitely extend the life of the plumbing system. So it would connect to your main, depending on where that's at, which typically in the front of the house. But it's just, there's several different types. But yeah, we would just tap into the main and run a loop. One line going over on the incoming into the softener, and then tying back into the main going into the house.
So when you send a journeyman plumber out to my house to take care of that emergency, don't you feel it would be advantageous to let me know about those things at that point? Should I expect to be educated on a lot of these things we've talked about today? That yes, we have a problem since we had a dinner party last night, and we need to deal with that directly. But I also noticed these other things. Can I expect your guys to look at all of it? How does that work?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we try to have all our plumbers do, is to definitely leave the recommendations. It's not typically something that's like, this is what you need to do now, but it's like, hey, just so you know, for your information, this would be a good idea to start thinking about, because the life expectancy of a lot of the plumbing is, for water heaters, is 10 years. For the water lines, it's usually about 20. 25.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking of a lot of neighborhoods in Fresno that the homes are much older than that. So that means, for lack of better terminology, they're already on borrowed time.
Yep.
So it'd be a good idea to have that stuff inspected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely not not cheap to find out in the long run. Whether, like I said, the house floods or whatever, it would have been much cheaper to just repipe it beforehand.
Well, it feels. I think we got to. I think we got to end. I bet your guys are screaming for where you're at right now. But I would, if you would, don't mind, I'll put you on the spot and ask you to come back and share with us again at another point. But really appreciated you coming up and kind of let me drive you through a few random questions and kind of some different scenarios. But I think what we learned today is plumbing's a lot more important than just calling a guy out because your toilet's plugged up. There's a whole process of preventative maintenance, being smart, protecting your infrastructure, and being ready for things before they happen. So I appreciate it. I've learned a lot myself today, and I listen to you talk every day. So this is good stuff, and I really appreciate you, and good luck this summer. Feel free to ask me about anything air conditioning if you like, but I would like to, in closing, again, thanks Ben for coming and let our commercial customers know that we have a full commercial plumbing department as well. You see our trucks everywhere in town. It's because we're heading to your house or we're heading to your business, and we take great pride in our speed to issue. So you can expect us to get out there in a very timely manner with a professional plumber and get you taken care of. So thanks again, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
And everyone for watching, and have yourselves a great day.